Hello everyone, welcome to today's video and welcome to a video that I've been so excited to film. I have been like lingering on what books I should recommend for this video and what categories I want to do. It's been living rent free in my brain, so I'm very excited to finally be filming this video. But first off, I just really want some sparkling water. Comment down below what you're drinking right this moment as you're watching this video. I'm one of those people who literally has like 3 drinks that they're drinking at a time, usually water, usually something caffeinated, and something kind of flavored or something like that. What categories did I decide to do? I'm like so excited that I'm literally blanking out. Oh my gosh, Elise, calm down, calm down. Okay, I'm so excited, you guys. You would think that I had so much caffeine today, but no, I didn't have very much. For this fall recommendation video, there are going to be 4 different categories of books for you to choose from. What kind of vibe you're going for. First, we have spooky books. These are like maybe mystery, thriller, suspense, things that go bump in the night. Maybe they'll give you spooky dreams. Because they definitely gave me spooky dreams. Next, we have books that are actually in fall. Books that are actually set in autumn, whether for the whole book or for part of the book. Next, we have just plain vibes. Like these books, we don't know if they happen in the fall. Maybe they do, but they are perfect to read in the fall because it's a vibe. And then last but not least, we have cozy books. And these are just the kind of books like, maybe they're in the fall, maybe they're not, but the best time to read them is wrapped up in a warm blanket in the fall. Cozy vibes. Great vibes. I'm gonna let you know that some of these books can absolutely be in multiple categories, but just for the sake of keeping things shorter and sweeter, I am going to only put them in one category. Before we get started with the video, I would love to know your favorite books to read during the fall, or maybe something that you're reading right now that has really good autumn vibes. Please let me know in the comments. Without further ado, let's get into this video. The first book I have for you is The Sacrifice by Rinchi Pecco. I have been waiting for months to finally be able to recommend this book. I read this in the summer and I had a great time reading it in the summer, but if I had read this in the fall, the vibes would have been on point. There's an American filming company, an American company that wants to come and shoot a reality TV show on this island off of the coast of the Philippines surrounding this lore. People have gone missing here. There's a myth that there's a god that's soon to be reawoken. Spooky things happen, and I think it's perfect for this time of year. Next, we have the Six of Crows duology. The mood of Ketterdam is kind of spooky, and some of the events that take place surrounding the magic and surrounding the Grishaverse that these characters are involved with is pretty spooky in my opinion. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it. These books sometimes can be a little difficult to get into in my opinion, especially with the multiple points of view. It takes a little effort to get into them, but once you get into them, it's so worth it. And when everything comes together, your mind is just blown, and I think it's just the perfect kind of spooky vibe book or duology to read during this time of year. Next for spooky vibes is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This book is a modern retelling of Hades and Persephone, and we do spend a decent amount of time in the underworld, and that's why I think it's perfect spooky vibe. There is some darker magic going on, some darker themes. It's very spicy. Check the trigger warnings, but I am just a little hoe for Greek mythology. This really hit the spot. This whole series is perfect for this time of year. The next are a few I don't physically have, and the first is Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This is a young adult horror novel, and it was very spooky. It has to do with this house and this family. This one girl is an orphan. She gets called that this is her family. She should come live there, but her mom told her never to go back to that house. Try to avoid it at all costs, but she's so curious. She just feels drawn to it. And once she goes there, spooky, crazy things happen. It's very eloquent, very flowery. It wasn't my favorite book, but it was still perfect for this time of year, and if that's your kind of thing, you definitely will enjoy this. Next we have Layla by Colleen Hoover, and this does involve a ghost, so that's why it's kind of spooky. I really enjoyed how slowly, I don't want to say slowly, that's not the right word, but the clues and kind of puzzle pieces coming together throughout the story were really well paced apart. The idea and concept of it was really interesting. I don't want to say too much, just go read it. Layla is perfect for this time of year. The next book is not a book that I personally absolutely loved, but it did have the perfect spooky vibes for this time of year, and that is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This book, I believe, is a duology. Don't quote me on that, but it's set in China in the past, and there's some sort of like virus or illness happening. People are like screaming and dying, and no one knows what's going on. And there are these two families. It's kind of like Romeo and Juliet retelling, and these families are determined to find out what's happening because it's tearing their city apart. And so their like young adult teenagers are the main characters, and they are going around the city and trying to figure things out. They kind of team up together even though their families are rivals. It was really interesting. I enjoyed aspects of it, but overall it wasn't the story for me, but I know that some people would absolutely love it. So if you're interested in that, that sounds interesting to you, definitely go check it out. Oh, the next book, oh my gosh, this book was so creepy. Perfect for this time of year, and that is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Holy heck. I had nightmares from this book. So creepy, and if you like that kind of book that like keeps you on your toes, you're like biting your nails, then this is so for you. We have this one main female character, and her family's getting letters from her cousin who got swept away in a marriage and far away. Haven't seen her, really heard from her since, but she's been sending letters recently and they kind of don't make sense. So her dad wants her to go check on her cousin, see how she's doing, see what's going on. Very reluctantly, this socialite goes to see how her cousin is doing. And it's set in this house that's like really creepy, really historic. Let's just say the family has a lot of really whack ideas about race and class and the roles of men and women, and just some creepy shit goes down. So perfect spooky vibes for this time of year. Last but not least, for spooky vibes, that is Verity by Colleen Hoover. We probably don't really need to talk about this book. We just know that some crazy creepy shit goes down, and it's a vibe for this time of year. Enough said. Okay, let's move on to some books that are actually in autumn or actually in the fall. The first book I have for you is Two Wrongs Make a Right by Chloe Lissay, and today is actually the release day for the second book in the series. So happy release day, Chloe Lissay. Two Wrongs Make a Right is actually set in the fall for most of the fall, leading up to I think the winter holidays or something like that. It follows Bea and Jamie. It's really funny. I love the banter. There's a not so meet cute, which is hysterical. I love the communication, the spices in it. It's just, it was a good time. I really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to read the next one. So definitely fall vibes. Oh my gosh, next we have Pumpkinhead. This book I bought kind of the other week when I was just a little bit down. It was a bit of a tough week and a lot had been going on, so I just treated myself and I sat down and I read this in like an hour or two. It was so great. I love the art style. It is by Rainbow Rowell, and Faith Erin Hicks is the illustrator. So stinking cute. So basically these high schoolers work at a pumpkin patch pretty much every year of their high school career, and it's their senior year, so it's their last pumpkin patch. And he's feeling really down about it. He has a crush on one of the other workers, and he's never talked to her, never said anything to her. He pines for her, and she's like, you know what? We are gonna make it happen. And she's like doing anything she can to make it happen. They're like running around the pumpkin patch. Things don't go as planned. There's a loose goat. And it's just so cute. I think her name is Deja, right? Look at this. How cute is that? I love the art, and they're just facial expressions. Josiah and Deja. Yeah, okay, cool. I did have it right. I love her so much. She's so cute. And Josiah was cute too, but like Deja was my favorite. She was great. Immaculate. I can see myself reading this pretty much every autumn. I laughed and giggled so many times. It was just really great. Read this book, please. Okay, this next one, it's not really, okay, rewind. The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. This book takes place over a great period of time, like 6 months, I want to say. So I think the first half is in summer and the second half is in fall. So take that as you may. The second half was my favorite part. Just saying. So that was what really stuck out to me the most. This book follows Hallie and Jack. Hallie is a bartender and ends up bartending at his sister's wedding. The sister from Mr. Wrong Number. It's up there hiding somewhere. Right there. Long story short, they have a really wild one-night stand, but they're trying to get back into dating. After that, they find each other on the app. They kind of like joke around and urge each other to get back into the dating game. And so they have this like wager that they do, this bet to see who can find love first. They go on a bunch of dates and they meet up for tacos afterwards because most of those dates are duds. There's a little bit of fake dating involved. It was really fun. The first half was good, but the second half was great. Gave this a solid 4 stars. The second half is fall vibes. The next book that actually takes place in autumn is A Proposal They Can't Refuse by Natalie Kanya. This one was so fun. I gave it a 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. It had a lot of great elements to it. We have childhood best friends that kind of fell apart and then rekindled their friendship and then became lovers, and then there's also fake engagement. There is some really interesting, funny family dynamics from both sides of these characters. Our main female character's family is from Puerto Rico. They have a restaurant that they're kind of trying to revive and keep going, and then our main male character, Graham, has a family from Ireland and they have a whiskey distillery. And their grandparents, their abuelitos, are best friends. Their places are next to each other. So also kind of forced proximity as well. Grumpy sunshine galore. I just really enjoyed it. Fall vibes. Go read it. The next recommendation I have for you is actually a series. However, the whole series does not take place in autumn or in fall, but the first book does. And that is the Stay a Spell series. This series is one of my all-time favorite series by Juliet Cross. This whole series takes place in New Orleans, and it is a paranormal kind of fantasy world where there are humans, but there are also witches, vampires, werewolves, and Grimms who live in this community and kind of, you know, keep their powers and their paranormal lives secret from humans. This whole series follows a set of sisters. There are 6 of them, and so we follow each of the sisters and kind of a love interest that develops. And in the first book, what happens is there is a werewolf, and witches normally don't help werewolves because they're known for being very violent. So she's kind of like banned from helping this werewolf who has a curse cast on him. But he goes to the second sister, Evie, and asks her if she can break his curse. And she's like, you know, we normally don't, like, I'm not really supposed to, but okay, you seem nice, like, fine. In order for her to break the curse, she has to be really near him because it's a very hands-on thing. In order to kind of like unwind the curse, it's kind of like a giant knot inside of him, and she has to like hands-on physically be around him in order to break the curse. So it's kind of forced proximity, a little bit of workplace romance, spicy. It is a really fun book and a really fun series, and I highly recommend it. Now we are moving on to the cozy autumn recommendations, but I want to mention these first 2 books first because they also take place in the fall. A little bit of both. And that is The Ex-Hex and The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. The Ex-Hex is really fun. It follows Vivi, and Vivi and Reese had this like amazing whirlwind romance when they were younger and in college, and then he just like up and left her, broke her heart. So she very jokingly curses him, doesn't really think it's like actually a thing that she can do. Come to find out, he comes back several years later during this autumn time, during Halloween time, to kind of recharge the magic because his family was one of the founding families, and so his magic is linked to the town. So when he comes to recharge the magic, a bunch of random and scary shit starts happening to him, and Vivi realized I did curse him. So she kind of teams up with him and is like, let's break this curse, it's my fault, like I'll help you. So they're kind of like second chance romance. There's a lot of animosity after how they ended their previous relationship. There's forced proximity, there is adventure, it's a little steamy. It's like steamy but not like explicit. Really fun, really cute, really quirky, low stakes romantasy book, and it's just a great time. Also, they live in, is it like Graves Glen or something like that? Yeah, Graves Glen. I would live in this town if I could. Absolutely, 100%. I want to live in this town. If I could just jump into a world from a book, it would be this one. And the follow-up to that is The Kiss Curse, also by Erin Sterling. It is a companion novel, and it follows Vivi's cousin, Gwen, who owns a like kind of spooky shop in the area, a little witchy spooky shop. I guess that's not really the point. The point is that this new coven of witches moves into town, and suddenly Gwen's powers are no longer working, or they're fading, or something like that. Where the spooky shop does come into play is that right across the road, her like nemesis from college moves in, and he opens his own spooky shop. But circumstances kind of bring them together. He helps her figure out what's happening to her powers. So that one's like enemies to lovers romance, a vibe. Great time. Next, I'm so excited to talk about this, you guys. I read this a few weeks ago and I absolutely loved it. It just checked every single box off for me, and I had the best time. It is so cozy. Just curl up with a blanket and read this in a night, like, and you will have the best time. The Very Secret Society, I always get caught up on that. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana is just a whole warm cup of hot chocolate, or a cup of hot tea, whatever you want it to be. It's so sweet. Essentially, witches have a curse upon them. They cannot gather, or their magic will gather, and then the humans will find out about them, and they don't want a continuation of the Salem witch trials, of the persecution that they experienced in the past. So this is how they protect witches. However, our main character, Mika, gets a message asking her to be a tutor for 3 very young witches at this orphanage. Mika's a bit of a wanderer herself. She never really stays in one place for very long. She's like, what can it hurt? I guess I'll try it out. So ensues this journey of some really quirky, fun characters, of Mika finding friendship and a family and discovering more about her magic. There's a little bit of romance with one of the caretakers of the property. He is also a librarian, very grumpy sunshine. So there's that like side plot of romance as well. It's just so wholesome. It covers so many topics in such a delicate, careful, beautiful way. I just love this. This was just so wonderful and delightful, and the perfect cozy read for the season. Also, it takes place kind of in like the middle or end of November and the beginning of December. It could even kind of be like an early December read if you want it. Although technically, if we're going by like the lunar cycle, early December is still fall, but doesn't feel like it, you know, like mentally. So anyway, up to your discretion. Okay, my last cozy rec for you is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. It's kind of similar to the Six of Crows duology, where it takes a little bit of effort to get into. The point of views do change a lot between chapters, and it's very mysterious. It's kind of like a little bit of a puzzle that you put together. But about like a third of the way in to a half of the way in, that's when things really get so magical. This is about a circus. The creators of this circus decided to do like a competition. They kind of each choose a magician and then kind of sick those magicians against each other. Our 2 magicians have been trained and chosen from a very young age, but they've run into each other before without realizing that they were each other's competition. So they don't really want to win or lose, because then the other one dies. Even if they aren't killed in the competition, if they lose, they die. So ensues this kind of resistance of the game. They play the game, but they kind of reinterpret what it means to be in like a magical competition. So ensues them slowly adding more and more magical components and rooms and like different displays for this circus, and it's just so magical. It's just so magical. I really enjoyed it. Also, I will eventually be getting the audiobook for this because Jim Dale narrates the audiobook, and Jim Dale just has the most magical voice ever. We have the last category for my fall recommendations, and that is just none other than vibes. These books, we don't know if they take place in the fall or maybe they take place over a greater period of time, but the vibe, the mood, the feel is very autumnal, or it's just, it now feels like a good time to read them. I don't know if I made any sense, but we're just gonna get on with it. And that is starting first with the Throne of Glass series. This book is very magical and fantastical, and I just feel like the time of year that I most reach for fantasy is the fall, and Throne of Glass is an awesome fantasy series. Also, this first book does have some like darker, the whole series has darker elements, but there are some things that happen, some demons that show up, and events that are happening to the people in this book that are kind of on the spookier side. So this can even go in like the spooky section. But anyway, I highly recommend this series. You probably already know what it's about, so moving on. Next we have Circe by Madeline Miller. I think this does take place over a very large, greater period of time. I think sometimes when I relate a book to autumn, I think about books with characters that go through a lot of change, because it reminds me of the leaves changing. Circe goes through a lot of growth and a lot of change, and I really loved that. And I think that's why I think it's perfect to read during this time of year. Circe is just so badass. Circe is a daughter of Helios and is never really seen to have much value beyond who she can be married off to. During a time of rebellion and just kind of like trying to prove that she is more than what people say she is, she uses some magic, does some things, and gets outcast and kind of sequestered to this island. She can only live there on her own. That's her punishment. She's not always alone. Daughters are sent, and there are some visitors from ships. There is magic. She is technically a witch, so spooky vibes. I really love this book, and I highly recommend it. I really want to reread and like annotate it. The next 3 books are actually from the same author. I don't physically own them, but I would absolutely love to one day, and that is Margaret Rogerson. Something that I really love about Margaret Rogerson is that she typically writes standalone novels, but they're fantasy. And they're just easily accessible, like easy to understand and absorb and consume, even though they're a standalone fantasy novel. And I really appreciate that. And like, man, she takes her characters on a journey. There's always gonna be something going on. So first we have An Enchantment of Ravens, and this takes place in a very autumnal kind of fantasy world. I don't even know if I can explain this one very succinctly or correctly, but just know it is autumn vibes. That's all I'm gonna say. Next we have A Sorcery of Thorns, and this one's a little easier for me to explain. Our main character is a librarian, but she works with books that are alive, and some of them have magic. Like, the books are magic. When you open them or like use them, they have special kind of powers or things that they can do and make happen. So she works specifically with those kinds of books. Let's just say one of the books gets loose or something. The concept is just really fun and really interesting. I was really on my toes the whole time. This was like a solid 4.5 star read for me. There was a little subplot of romance, and that was fun, but I also appreciate when books like that where the romance is not the main point, but there's like a subplot of it, you know? Last but not least, from Margaret Rogerson, that is Vespertine. I probably should have put this in the spooky vibes section because Vespertine is kind of like a witch. She is like a nun, so to speak, but nuns have special powers. They can help control and calm down spirits or help them move on to the next phase of life. So Vespertine has these powers and helps with these, but the spirits have different like levels of severity, and she comes in contact with a very high level spirit, and so she's kind of trying to figure out how she can get rid of him and like help him move on to the next phase of life. And so she ends up going on this journey. There's kind of this like war of someone gathering these spirits to like attack people in towns and like take over. So she's trying to help with that too. So that book is just perfect to read during this time of year. My next vibes recommendation for you is These Hollow Vows duology. Now this duology was not my personal favorite. I felt a little yanked around during the whole series, but I don't regret reading it. Like I still enjoyed reading it. I'm glad I did. But yeah, there was a lot going on, but it was very autumn vibes, I have to say. It was fantasy. There were some darker components to the fantasy world. There was a little bit of mystery. There is a lot of betrayals. Like the vows that they make are very shallow, and she gets betrayed a freaking lot. Like a lot, and she does some betraying herself, so like, you know, all in good fun. Ooh, the next is another standalone fantasy, and I can't tell you why this felt very autumnal to me. Maybe it's because I read it in autumn, and that is To Kill a Kingdom. This is a kind of a Little Mermaid retelling, but she's a siren. Then they kind of like go on this journey. I have to say, at the beginning it did feel like a Little Mermaid-esque, but I really liked the direction that the rest of the story went. I think for me the reason it feels kind of autumnal is because it's just fantasy, and I gravitate towards fantasy in the fall. It is a really fun book. Definitely pick it up. The next one is a book by Elise, and that is A Duel with the Vampire Lord. This is from her Married to Magic series. It is the third one in the series, and it's a vampire, so it's like this time of year, you know, spooky October vampires. It's just the time. I actually read this during this time last year. It's about this world that's kind of connected to the human world, and humans used to be a part of it. Back in the days when the humans and these kind of fake creatures lived together, they thrived, but something happened and they kind of like separated, and this vampire land and world is dying. And the vampires are meant to live for a really long time, so when they die, they're like manipulating and turning into almost these like zombie vampires and attacking their people. And this main female character kind of becomes like a sacrifice for them to help like power their world. But her roles kind of end up changing a little bit. They learn a lot more about the curse that's happening, and are kind of trying to figuring out how to end the curse and break it. I was very satisfied with the ending. I enjoyed it. It was a good mixture of action and then like reaction and resetting. I think it was my favorite of the Married to Magic series so far. I will say though, and like Elise has mentioned this and commented on it herself, she's kind of trying to move out of the young adult territory, but she's very new to writing spicier scenes. So the spicy scenes in this felt a little, I don't want to say forced, but like you can tell she's working it out. She's figuring out the best way to incorporate spice in her books. And so that made it sound really bad. Like it really wasn't that bad, but I know that some readers who really enjoy spice won't necessarily enjoy the little bit that is in here. So just keep that in mind. You can skim. I don't know. But overall, I really enjoyed it. It was a solid 4-star read for me, maybe a 4.25-star read for me. Okay, you guys, last but not least is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Now, when I first read this book, it wasn't my favorite. It was a little bit slower paced as well. I was kind of mad with the ending and Luke and all of these things, but I literally think about that book all the time. All the time. I think that's a sign, and I think that maybe I need to reread it, maybe in a physical form, or listen to it, because I did borrow it from Libby and was under like a time crunch to finish it, and maybe that's why I didn't enjoy it as much, because I felt forced to read it. But I think about this book all the freaking time, and I think it's very kind of dark, autumnal. It just felt like an end of fall, beginning of winter type of book. That's the vibe we're going for. Addie is from a time period a long time ago, like 300 years ago. She is coming of age, and her family is like forcing her to get married. She doesn't want to get married, so she makes a deal with the god. But instead of making a deal with the god in the light, she makes a deal with the god of the night. And you never make a deal with the god of the night. And that happens to be Luke. I forget, Lucifer maybe? I'm not sure. But he saves her, but he makes her pay for it, and she lives forever, indeterminately, but no one can remember her. But she's very lonely. But one day, a boy remembers her, and so kind of this part of the story starts. It just felt very autumnal, very fall-y, and I definitely recommend it for this time. These are my recommendations for fall reads. It is like a fall reading guide for you guys, depending on what vibe or mood you're going for. How many times did I say vibe? Comment down below if you've been counting, because it's been a lot. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope this video isn't as long as it took for me to film this video, because it's really long. But if it is, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're having a wonderful autumn, and I am sending you good vibes. See you in my next one. Bye everyone.